Hello all and welcome back to the Pipe Cottage. I have the lovely wife, Miss Alexandria Harrelson here. And people have asked me for the past several months to do a video again with Alex talking about our conversion to the Catholic Church. But I want to talk about more than that. I want to talk about the very raw problems that we've been dealing with family-wise over the course of our marriage, and all of that has catapulted into a new realm since we became Catholic. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I think that our story can be a source of encouragement, because this is not the only story like this. I know many people who are coming into the church as a young couple or as an older couple, and it's rare to have both the husband and the wife on the same page when they're coming into the church. And so, first of all, I want to talk about any reservations that Alex might have had, which were fairly non-existent when we were coming into the church. I've told this story many times. In the summer of 2023, I was in this study, in a chair right behind the picture here, reading constantly about the Catholic Church, reading the Catechism, reading Peter Kreeft, Scott Hahn, all the normal people that you would know about, and some people that you probably wouldn't know about. And every day, Alex would come into the study. She would open the door. She'd say, "Well, are we going to be Catholic now?" She was just waiting on it. And so what I want you to do is tell people about what you were thinking as I was going through that process.
It was just sort of the right step. There was not really anything crazy about it, and partly because of how I was brought up with, there were so many, even though I wasn't brought up in a Catholic home, and I was not, regularly attending Catholic Mass or anything like that. My dad was baptized Catholic and had gone to Catholic school for a time. And so I think unconsciously a lot of the doctrine was kind of instilled in me already. Is doctrine the right word?
Yeah.
Doctrine the right word. And so things that would have been a question to a lot of people just weren't a question to me. It was sort of like, okay, duh, it's the right answer. I didn't have to get over any big belief systems I had already, because a lot of it was stuff that I already believed in and trusted in.
Your daddy was born in Cuba in 1963, baptized Catholic.
Yeah.
But he was not a practicing Catholic during your childhood.
No. And I had gone to maybe a few masses over the course of my life, very few. When I was younger, kind of understood a little bit about it. We had extended family that was Catholic. So I had been exposed to it in many different ways and forms. But I still think that there was just things that happened in my life. I don't really know how to explain it. There was things that happened in my life that we were kind of taught being Catholic beliefs, but without being said that.
I think a major reason why you didn't have any problem joining the church is because you were not raised in a strong evangelical household that told you that Catholics got it wrong.
No, and I was not raised like you, which was completely opposite, where you had these underlying things that you had been taught for your whole life, and then all of a sudden had to change the way of your thinking for that.
Yeah, I had to change a great deal. So that's what she did. It
was very easy for me.
Every day for weeks she would come into this study and she would say, "So are we going to be Catholic yet?" So I had the great blessing of not having a wife that had reservations about the Catholic Church. And actually our spiritual life as a family and as a couple has blossomed tremendously over the past 2 years since we became Catholic. Because when we got married in 2016, and I'm glad I got that year right.
There's a little hesitation.
Married in 2016, and we explored the Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church. Actually, I was accepted into a Presbyterian seminary in South Carolina a couple of years before we moved to Kentucky. And so I was an ordained Church of God preacher. So I had experience all across the board before we got married. And after we got married, we were always trying to find a spiritual home. And the one thing that people always told us when we joined the church is welcome home. Welcome home. And I can tell you that is exactly what it feels like.
And it just made sense. And Alan has asked me, multiple times over the last few months and said, well, people want to know what your hardest part was about joining the Catholic Church. And there just wasn't difficulty for me.
Not with her family, but with my family it was. I remember telling I probably should have done it differently, but I told my mama through a text message, hey, we have joined the Catholic Church. Just want to let you know that. And I gave a much longer explanation. And then probably 3 or 4 days later, I get a text message, not a phone call, but a text message from my father who says, this has got to be a joke. You've got to be kidding me. There's no way. I mean, are you serious? And then I responded and said, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I'm very serious. And then his reply was, well, you've been deceived. You've been deceived by either another person or Satan himself. And my father is still, to this day, of the opinion that the Catholic Church is a false religion. It is the greatest lie on the face of the planet. And so I have no working relationship with my father anymore. And that's a cross that I have to bear. And that's a cross that we have had to bear. Mm-hmm. We have no functional relationship with either her parents or mine. Alex, tell people about exactly why we don't have a good relationship with your parents, beginning with our wedding.
Where do you start?
Well, just tell people what they need to know in order to pull this into a story that we can use to encourage people.
Well, let's keep it semi-simple in the fact that not a single member of my family came to our wedding, although we begged them to. And after that was pretty much the single thing that happened that kind of ruined everything after that. And there was so many pieces. Prior to us getting married, I had gone to this Baptist home church, very legalistic type of church, where although I had dated in the past, it was taught that you had to only court. And so Alan, for some reason, agreed to that. I still to this day don't know why he agreed to that. I don't think he does either, why we agreed to this. And so we courted for a while, and everything went really well. My dad, gave the blessing for us to get married, to get engaged. And all of a sudden, through a series of events, that permission was revoked. And talk about a 180 when it was sort of found out that I would no longer be helping with the farm and with making money and running things that I had built for them through my time in college and after college. All of that got pulled away. And then it got to such a boiling point that we moved up our wedding date. Memorial Day of 2016, I ended up calling Alan and saying, we can't do this anymore. I'm no longer welcome in my home because I was getting church discipline called on me. Still don't know why we were getting church discipline called on us.
I can tell you why. The reason, well, here's the situation. And this is a part of the larger story of why I'm so glad to be Catholic. When I met Alex, her parents, and she's an only child, they were going to a home church in Aiken, South Carolina. They were going to a home church. And I had just left the Church of God a couple of months before I met Alex because I got tired of the politics, but the lot of things. I got tired of a lot of different things going on with that particular denomination. So I left. I was taken into the broom closet of the pastor of that church and told that my opinions about the church are irrelevant. And so anyway, I left. A couple of months later, I met Alex.
He couldn't help it.
I couldn't help it. Lord have mercy, no, I couldn't help it. And I had known her daddy probably 10 years before that, but I didn't know he had a daughter because her parents and my parents lived probably 3/4 of a mile from one another. Mm-hmm. And her mama and daddy bought an 1888 farmhouse, beautiful, beautiful South Carolina farmhouse, the same year that my parents bought a parcel of land and started building their log house that they live in now. In 2003, that's the year all that happened. So I knew her daddy years before I knew that she existed. But when I met...
was just a hidden gem waiting to be found.
Oh, yes. And when I saw her for the first time, it was in November of 2015, and her daddy was there, and her daddy said, well, we're going to this home church, and won't you come visit with us? So I did. I went and visited. And it didn't take me too long to realize that these were intensely legalistic doctrines that are being taught in this home church. When I met Alex, all she was wearing was denim skirts. She would wear blue jeans on the farm, but her daddy told me, she said, her daddy told me, we don't date in this family. We court. That's what we do. We court.
That's what we had done for the last, 6 months.
And so he said, if you're going to see my daughter, it will be here at our farm. You can't go out to eat. You can't go to a movie. You cannot leave my property. You have to court her here on my farm. And so I did it. It didn't turn me off.
I was 23 at this time, or 22.
20. Yeah,
I was 23 already.
23 years old.
Very cultish, very brainwashy behavior.
And so I said, okay, whatever. I didn't want to cause a fuss. But the closer I lost my grandfather in February of 2016. And I was very, very close to my grandfather. And when he died, that night I called up Alex and I told her that I loved her for the first time. Because I could tell that there was a new chapter starting. Grandpa was a responsibility that was a part of my life, and I enjoyed spending time with him. But he was the last grandparent that I had living. And when he passed, I knew that a transition was happening. It was time to move on to a new chapter. It was time to start my own family. And so I asked for her hand in April of 2016, and everything is fine and dandy. Something happens between April and our wedding date, which was June 4th, 2016.
Well, it was supposed to be July, but we had to move it up, so.
And
it was all very fast in the broad scheme of things anyway.
To this very day, I do not understand why her parents decided that they did not want to have a part of our wedding. They did not want to have anything to do. We had probably 150, 200 people at our wedding. Mm-hmm. They were all people who knew me. Not one person from her family showed up. She walked down the aisle by herself. Mm-hmm. And so that's that's one cross that we've been bearing.
for going on 10 years.
Going on
Just
10
9
years of
yeah.
marriage. And I lost my parents, any meaningful relationship with them, when we joined the Catholic Church. So, Alex, tell people your perspective of our wedding, why is all this happening? Why do we have absolutely no relationship with any of our parents? What have we done wrong?
Well, that's been a question that I have tried to ask myself for 9.5 years. Is what did I do wrong? We were picture book perfect. We followed the rules to a T, and yet we still got handed this cross to bear for really no reason. And I really, really struggled with it, especially the first few years of our marriage, because I did not have the support that I saw, friends having support from their parents, etc., just involved in their lives. I had no support, and that was and is still one of the most painful things. I don't know why. To this day, I do not know why everything has blown up and happened the way that it has happened. There has been times where we try to kind of make do, and it always comes back to, well, we don't agree with the way you do things, or we don't like the way that you said XYZ, so now we're just gonna cut you off completely. In normal functioning families, you can disagree and still have a relationship. In our families, you disagree and then you're just written off for the rest of your life. That seems to be what happens. You just, okay, I don't agree with what you said, so we're not going to talk to you anymore. And the cross that you have had to bear with your parents, and after joining the Catholic Church, that was what happened. Was I don't agree with it, and so because of that, I'm going to write you off. No longer going to have a relationship with you. And I wish so much that we don't have to agree on things, but just say, well, I think that's pretty dumb. I think that's pretty stupid, and move on. But we were not blessed with family members that believed in that kind of conflict management.
No, and this is, again, the biggest cross that we've had to bear since we were married. And the only reason I am sharing any of this is because I have received a massive amount of correspondence from people who are going through something similar. And I've received correspondence from young men and young couples who are afraid to join the Catholic Church because they're concerned about the repercussions that they're going to experience from their family. The family of God is the only thing that trumps all of that. When I realized that the Catholic Church was true, and I didn't want to, I knew the sacrifice that it was going to bring to us. I knew that my parents would not be happy about it.
We didn't know to the extent.
I didn't know it would be this bad.
Which it would be, but we knew they wouldn't be happy with it.
Right, I didn't know it would be this bad, but I knew that there would be a cost. But as I've said many times before in other videos, it would have been a grave sin for me to deny the truth that I found in the Catholic Church simply because I wanted to please my parents. Pleasing my earthly father is not nearly as important as pleasing God the Father and honoring the sacrifice of his Son on the cross.
And I think too, and another reason I wanted to do this video is because you see people and you think, oh, what a beautiful journey they're going through. But I think sharing the really, really hard stuff that we have had to walk through, that has not been all roses, but we've made it out okay.
No,
we're okay.
We're fine.
Yeah, we're fine. We have no support from our family, but
absolutely no support at all. Yeah. But we are a part of the family of God, and this is what Jesus said. When people, when Jesus' parents were looking for him, and he was in the temple studying and listening in Jerusalem, Jesus said, "Who is my family? Who is my brother? Who is my sister?" He was like 12 years old. He said, "Those who believe in my Father, those who believe in my Father, those who trust in him." That's the kingdom of God. That's the family of God. I have tried to call my father. I've tried to visit with him in person. He is the most anti-Catholic man I have ever known in my life. The most anti-Catholic. He won't talk to me. He said that he doesn't want to talk to me, that I'm not the kind of person that he wants to spend time with. And he's got a cancerous disease. Unless God heals him of it, that's going to kill him. And so that's another level of problem that's going on. There is so much hurt and disappointment and dissatisfaction among so-called Christians. We don't have a single Christianity in the United States. We have multiple Christianities. That's what we have. And what has happened is that we have both come from parents who idolize their idea of what a family should look like. They have idolized their image of how a family is supposed to behave. And I know that we're not the only ones that have to go through that. It's a common story, but nobody has the guts to talk about it. Nobody has the guts to talk about it. And so we're talking about it. We don't have any functional relationship with any of our parents now. But what motivates us is that the families that we came from does not matter as much as the family that comes from us. Our three children, our three beautiful children in our marriage is more important than anything else is going on anywhere else outside of this household. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. I'm just listening.
But I wanted Alex to come on here just because I did not want it to appear as if I were talking bad about her family without her approval and her knowledge.
And I'm not as elaborate of a storyteller or good as a storyteller as you are, but there's so many layers of things that have happened in the last 10 years. And just to reiterate, there's so many people who are going through something similar and they think that they're alone. For a long time, I thought, well, this relationship is broken and I'm the only person in the whole world who doesn't have parents that are a part of their life, and that's just not true. So I think that's just another reason to share too. I mean, my parents were not at any of our children's births. They didn't care to be. Our youngest is 2.5, and to this day, my father has not met my 2.5-year-old. And if it hadn't been for me flying for my grandfather's funeral, my mother would not have met them. And it is just, it baffles me to even say it out loud and to think how ridiculous it is. And then to see people who seemingly have everything together and have relationships with their parents, and it's just not the hand that we've been dealt, I guess.
No, but we have this media image of what an American family is supposed to look like. The American family is supposed to be as American as apple pie. You're supposed to always be able to get along with your parents. The grandchildren should always be able to see the grandparents. I've tried that. The last time that my parents saw my children, the only reason that was able to happen is because I agreed not to be present during that visit.
Which again is just so like mind-boggling to say out loud.
So the problem that I see in a cultural sense, a larger cultural sense, is that there are many people our age and younger who are having problems with their parents. And they're experiencing the same response from their parents as I have from mine, and probably as Alex has from her. You're supposed to honor your mother and your father. Honor your mother and your father. I'm not honoring my mother and my father by denying what I believe God is asking me to do. The question I think that more people need to be asking is, what did the parents have to do for the children to reach a point where they say, enough is enough? What's that story? Is I'm nearing 40 years old now. I'm not a baby. I've got my own family to raise. I've got my own faith to cultivate, my own personal holiness. I have to lead my own family. But it's still a cross to bear. Because when you follow Christ, you want to love the people that you came from. You want to honor them the best you can, the people that you came from. But Jesus himself said, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring a sword. And we have this notion in the United States of a fluffy and cushy and comfortable Christianity. If you follow Christ, Christianity never cost me anything until I became Catholic. It didn't cost me anything. It was comfortable. I was following Christ in the way I thought my family wanted me to follow him. It was comfortable. It didn't cost me anything. There was no cross. Yeah, I would get into some insignificant debates with secular humanist professors in college and graduate school, but that didn't cost me anything. That was just fun. But following Christ through the Catholic Church has cost me a massive amount. But we're still here. The Pipe Cottage is still here. The Harrelson family is still here. We are headquartered here in Kentucky, and God is good. God is gracious, and I am so thankful that we had the guts to make this video. What you think?
Yeah. I'm not a great storyteller, but I'm glad that I could do this. But any comments or questions or anything that you have, I'll watch all the comments. And if you have any questions for me too, I'll answer as best as I can.
Good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. We got our children in the yard, and we have to go check up on them and make supper. This is Alan and Alexandria Harrelson with the Pipe Cottage. Thank you for stopping by.